What's going on, everyone? Adam Gelman here. I wanted to hop on quickly because we just got the sell sheet for 2023 WWE Prizm, which is the much anticipated sequel to the original debut that happened last year. Landmark set last year. Let's see what they've got in store for 2023. It's the first set of the 2023 card year. We've already gotten some really good sort of information just from the sell sheet. I wanted to go through that. There's also a bunch of new stuff. So a lot of awesome things that are going to be coming. Wanted to walk through a video quickly and give people a little bit of information on what to expect, because if you've been a WWE collector your whole life and you haven't had experience with sort of the greater Prizm ecosystem that happens with Panini, this is going to be your first exposure to it. It's really important to have sort of a good understanding as you're going through pre-orders, because as we saw last time, there is a lot that happens between when a product is solicited and when a product eventually comes through and is on shelves. So what I want to do in this video is I'm going to walk through some of the cards, some of the thoughts I have, and then we'll get into some of the configurations because there's changes there as well. Excited to sort of go through all of this with you guys, so stay tuned through this video. We'll walk through every piece of it. All right, let's start with the base, because as you saw in my first sort of expectations video, the base design does mirror what we're seeing in football and what we're seeing in UFC. They've changed a lot of those specific elements of it from last year to this year's new design. I like this base design a lot better than I did for 2022. I think it's much more sort of Prizm-like. It really sort of feeds into the border, changing colors, the different things that Panini really focuses on when they create a product like this. So I think from a design perspective, the base cards look really good. We also are seeing kind of the standard parallels that we were expecting for every Prizm set. We've got a preview of the gold, which was the Cody Rhodes in the preview. We got a preview of the black, and we got the Mojo, which is Becky Lynch, of course. I think Panini's baiting me on that one. So it's really cool to see that we're going down the same path, the traditional path of Prizm, but I was disappointed to see that they aren't adding some of the stock patterns to the base cards, which I think really does add an element of collectability in the greater hobby. So I would like to see that come to WWE. Doesn't look like we're going to get that. So it still will be a flat black or a flat gold. There isn't going to be a wave or a box or a disco pattern, which we'll get to here in a second. But there's going to be a lot of additional sort of elements to this because of the new configurations. And I'll cover that here as we get later on in the video. But overall, from a base perspective, like, this is the same sort of configuration as what we're seeing Prizm last year. I think there probably will be some color changes. There may be some additional parallels that are added to the checklist. We haven't gotten a full understanding of that quite yet, but we're working on information that isn't complete. So I think as we get more and more from Panini, as we get more and more into this, the base cards, as usual, will be a major focus of this set. In terms of the inserts, looks like we're getting some really cool ones this year. Loved seeing the Steve Austin 316 promo insert ring royalty. We're getting some 2012 initial Prizm throwback inserts. We'll have autograph variations of those, as we saw. Like, there's a lot here to unpack. And I think the inserts last year were really well done. And not only were they really well done, but they covered parts of WWE that I think the fans really gravitate towards. We got inserts last year for entrances. We got inserts for just general great looking photography, cool stuff. Again, this year it's focused as much on some of the legend content as well as some of the new stuff. Everything looks really good there. And I'm excited to see kind of how they sort of play out in the different parallels, because really, like, if you can think of that Austin 316 card, that might be one of the biggest moments in WWE history, just because of what it kicked off and what Stone Cold was able to build off of for that. So for all the Stone Cold collectors, that could be a major card for their PC, and collecting that up through the parallels will be awesome to see. So I think, we are starting to get a sense of where Panini's head is at when it comes to building their sets. And it's clear that they have an eye both on the history of WWE and the moments that WWE has built around, while still looking at creating moments for their modern stars. So really interested to see how these inserts sort of play out and how we're going to get those across a number of different parts of the product. For the autographs, this is interesting. Like, I think we've now seen kind of what the champions autographs look like because they previewed them in UFC. We've seen what the sensational signatures autographs look like because they've previewed them here in the undercard um, configuration. I'm not a huge fan of the way that these look. They are sort of flip flopped. So, like, you have the sticker autograph on top and the picture on the bottom. I get that they were trying to do something different. I just don't think it really works. And I'll reserve judgment to see the cards in practice, but yeah, I think last year's champion cards were absolutely gorgeous, like freaking gorgeous cards. And if they go with the way that they're sort of structured here in UFC and the sensational signatures, which I thought were awesome looking cards last year, I just don't think they're as good this year. I don't like the flip flop. It looks really top heavy. But for everything that was bad about those, the dual autographs they're previewing here are that much better. Like, I love the dual autograph design here. The Undertaker Mankind card obviously has connotations back to their feuds in WWE, and we even got the Hell in a Cell card in Immaculate. Now we get the dual autograph card here. It is going to be sticker autograph, but man, it looks good. So, like, I think you're going to have a lot of different things to sort of play off of here. There's going to be a number of different autograph sets. There's going to be a lot of different opportunities to sort of collect autographs, but the main ones I'm not feeling. Prizm really never was about the autographs anyways, but in WWE they have shown to be very key elements of the set. So yeah, I think this is one of those areas that's left a lot to be desired. For the first time ever, we're going to get a secondary configuration of Prizm here. And it's, according to the sell sheet, it's called Undercard, which sort of references the hobby version being top of the card, the main event. This is the Undercard. It's going to be a light configuration, which means that instead of 2 autographs, you're going to get 1. Instead of a bunch of packs, you'll get fewer packs. And they do have different parallels. We've seen fast break and no huddle and other configurations for Prizm. We've also seen an H2 variation, which is kind of a hybrid hobby and between these two types of things. It's good that Panini is investing in this product. It's really good to see that they decide to incorporate multiple configurations because it shows that they have put money into this. And it costs extra money to make these extra product configurations. I think overall, like, adding the extra parallels, adding the different pieces of the no huddle and fast break sort of configurations really helps. There's also going to be the variations. So, like, you're going to see the Hollywood Hogan has a variation card in undercard that was part of the sell sheet. Those are going to replace that second autograph or something to that degree. We haven't gotten full configuration details in that respect, but in traditional sort of product configurations in other sports, those are going to be really rare and they're going to be hard to get. So you could even have parallels of those cards as well. We don't have configuration details on that yet either, but that's a really interesting development. So for the first time, we're going to see these 1 per box or 1 per case or whatever sort of variations of the base card. So that Hollywood Hulk Hogan card that's part of the sell sheet likely won't be available in any other parts of the configuration. So really interesting development there. These boxes are usually cheaper. I think for Blowout, we saw Hobby pre-order for 2023 at $300. We saw Undercard pre-order at $200. So you're going to get $100 cheaper because you're giving up some of that product configuration. And you're going to have the different parallels. So there are those disco speckle type parallels that are part of Undercard. They are not part of Hobby. But I don't think that there's also going to be a lot of details yet on sort of what other parallels are going to be included. As you look at the sell sheet for Undercard, they do have color parallels of that sort of speckled disco format. So usually that means that we're not going to have access to the true Hobby parallels in a lot of cases. But it does give player collectors like me a nightmare because we have a whole nother set of cards to collect. So yeah, really interesting to see this. I do like that they're bringing in an additional configuration. There's probably going to be an Asia configuration. There's probably going to be other things that are surprises that we'll see. So these are just really the initial details of that. Interested to see how it plays out long term. All right, let's talk about for the sell sheet. We got a very clear understanding that Cody Rhodes is going to have his first Prizm card available in this set. He has a great photograph on that card. We also have the configuration details that show that there are going to be the 2012 throwback inserts, which are immensely popular in the NBA and NFL because that was the first year of Prizm. So really, this set has a lot to offer. We're also going to see probably first cards of Roxanne Perez, Nikita Lyons, and some of the other rookies that I talked about in my preview video. So now that we actually have set details, it's going to be a really sort of mad sprint to April 19th, which I think this is scheduled to release then. So right on the heels of WrestleMania, you're going to probably have a really good idea of where WWE is headed. Is Roman Reigns still going to be the champion? Is it going to be Cody Rhodes? What's going to happen with different things that are part of that storyline and how that will relate to Cody Rhodes having his first Prizm card? We're likely going to have a Sami Zayn bloodline card. We're going to have some photography here from like things like War Games and other parts of the pay-per-view calendar that are much more recent. You'll have some updated gimmicks. We're going to have Bray Wyatt. We're going to have Ronda Rousey. Like there's a whole bunch of things that are going to be included here. Potentially Logan Paul and potentially Pat McAfee, as I mentioned in my preview video. Like this iteration of Prizm has a lot riding on it. And I think last year the hobby boxes started off white hot. Obviously, it fell off a cliff in terms of wax price. So pre-orders are likely going to be like where we're seeing with Blowout, starting at around $300. That's double MSRP right now. Those could change dramatically depending on how things work out. So there's only about a month and a half between now and the scheduled release of this product. If you're going to get in on this, if you're going to get if you find yourself desiring a Prizm break, I would get in now. And the reason that I'm saying that is because it's probably not going to fluctuate hundreds of dollars down, but it could fluctuate hundreds of dollars up. So I don't think it's going to drop all the way to 150. I just don't see that happening. Prizm pre-orders just are too strong for that to happen. It may drop a little bit, but it has potential to go much further up the chain, as we saw with Immaculate. So you could be, instead of paying, $2,000 or $3,000 for a case, you could be paying $4,000 and $5,000 a case. That is all speculation. So it's kind of what comfort level do you have that things are not going to go down and are instead going to go up. Traditionally, the pre-order price that is at release of that price is the best price that is offered for that product when it comes to Prizm. And I think last year's was an aberration because it just got way too overheated. The first pre-orders went in at like $750 and sold out immediately. I think this is going to be a much more typical Prizm release for a niche sport. So if you're thinking like, hey, I'm comfortable if it drops $50, but I'm definitely not comfortable if it goes up $150, like this is the time then to get in. It's all about your comfort level, especially if you feel like you're going to be breaking boxes of this. There's also going to be a first off the line component of this, almost guaranteed. So if you want to wait until that happens before you start buying into hobby boxes, that makes sense too. There's a lot here to unpack, as I mentioned before, and Prizm is an insanely controversial product in WWE, as we've seen. So, like, even though I'm really excited about it, even though I want to get my hands on a lot of this stuff, there are a lot of people out there whose sole agenda is to sink this product. And so you're going to have a lot of controversial opinions. And I think that as we start to see the prices for this come out, especially the prices around some of the newer people, there's going to be a really high contingency of people offering very controversial takes on this. So take that into consideration as you're debating whether or not to buy in or stay out. There's also a lot of really good reasons just to buy the singles because Prizm doesn't tend to have a good breaking component, one box over one box. You got to buy it by the case. So it's curious, like, is this going to be the same type of product that we saw in 2022 where the parallels and the inserts and the autographs start high, drop really low, and then the numbered rare stuff stays high, sets record prices, all of that stuff. Like none of that is confirmed yet, and we're all sort of speculating on how that's all going to perform. Last year's product, I think, was the debut, and collectors love firsts. So this is not the first. This is the second year, and that's why we're going to see lower prices. But for people that haven't had a Prizm card before, that is their debut. We could see some major big prices there. So keep that in mind as you're engaging prior to the release and prior to the checklist being dropped. As soon as the checklist drops, we will have our usual panel discussion up to sort of talk about what we're seeing. Going to try and bring some new faces in. Also, we have a panel discussion coming up around Immaculate and the review there, the postmortem, as we've now been a couple of weeks into the product. We're going to have a couple of people join on that haven't been on the channel before. Very excited about that. So stay tuned here, like and subscribe. Really happy to be a part of the WWE community as we're entering into some of the more exciting parts of the year with the biggest premium product just released. Now the beginning of the 2023 card year, right on the heels of a humongous WrestleMania. Can't wait. See you guys soon.